do, and I have to be in the bathtub because we're not allowed out of the house. So, Miss Rose thought that you would like to hear a story, and I am going to read The Mermaid Queen, of course. And this book, we'll get to the page. This book is non-fiction. So does that mean that it's true, or does that mean that it's made up? If you guess true, you are correct. So when Annette was little, she lived in a house by the sea in Australia. And Annette's parents were music teachers, and our house was filled with singing and dancing and music. Every day, Annette watched the dancers twirl and dip and whirl, and she dreamt that one day she would be one of them, beautiful, graceful, and fancy-free. But Annette couldn't dance. She could hardly walk. To strengthen her legs, Annette's father taught her to swim. Annette swam and swam, and the more she swam, the stronger she grew. Pretty soon, she was slicing through the water, winning races and setting records. But in 1903, people weren't used to seeing female athletes. Annette's mother worried that people would talk. She wished that Annette would do something more artistic. How many of you like to play sports? What are you doing right now outside? Anything? But swimming had made Annette's legs strong, and in the water she didn't feel plain or clumsy or weak. She felt beautiful and fancy-free. Annette kept practicing her strokes and making waves. And when she wasn't racing, she daydreamed about the ballerinas she loved as a little girl. She whirled and twirled, and she dipped and danced and dived. And no one was exactly sure what she was doing, but Annette didn't care one bit. She loved her new invention. It wasn't quite a ballet, and it wasn't quite swimming. It was water ballet. Swimming and diving filled Annette with joy, and she wanted to show other girls how wonderful they could be. She demonstrated her dazzling dives at the local aquarium. "A fine performance," trumpeted the papers. Annette and her father decided to show the world Annette's invention and exactly what girls could do in the water. And they said goodbye to Australia, and they sailed to England. When they arrived in London, they went to Soho and to the Strand and Piccadilly and the Palace, and they hoped to put on a show. But everywhere they went, people just scoffed. A girl swimmer? Too plain, too plump, too weird, too wet, too bad. Annette remembered her mother's worries. If people saw a girl swimmer, they might talk. But maybe that's just what she needed. Maybe Annette should do something drastic to get people talking about girl athletes. What do you think she's going to do? Annette and her father rowed out to the middle of the yucky, mucky River Thames, and she dove into the mucky water and swam for 13 miles up the river, dodging tugs and barges and the whole way. "Lummy, you're a girl," gasped the watchman, and he pulled her out. Now people were paying attention, and a newspaper even asked Annette, would she try to swim the English Channel? And the English Channel separated France and England, and it was 22 miles wide, and only one man and no woman had ever made it across. But that did not stop Annette. Annette and her father traveled to Dover to train, and for the next 6 weeks she swam from one seaside resort to another, and the big day arrived, and Annette dove over the pier into the cold water. Splash! She swam towards France and accompanied by a steam tug and a rowboat, and wherever she got hungry, she slurped chicken soup or hot chocolate through a long-snouted cup or snacked on tiny sandwiches held out at the end of a long stick. Annette had outdistanced the other swimmers by a mile when she got seasick. She didn't make it to France, but people marveled over the young girl who had swam so far and so well, and why? She even made it look artistic. Now all of England was talking about the Mermaid Queen from Australia. It wasn't long before Annette received an invitation to perform for the royalty at the London Bath Club. Annette knew her mother would be proud, but just as she was about to go on stage, a manager rushed over. She told her she couldn't possibly show her bare legs. Annette had come so far, and she couldn't let something as silly as a swimsuit get in her way. She thought fast. And then, splash! And they were all excited and clapping. So after the performance at the bath club, the star swimmer spread farther. Soon Annette was racing her way through Europe. Next, Annette was invited to America to swim in Wonderland Park at Boston's Revere Beach. America, the land of the free. Annette couldn't wait. But when she arrived at Revere Beach, she was amazed at what the American ladies were wearing. Stockings and shoes and bloomers and bathing dresses and collars and corsets and caps, all for a day at the beach, while the men and the boys splashed in the surf and waterlogged ladies could only bob up and down near the shore. How could anyone possibly swim in that? They didn't have a lovely tail like mine. My word, marveled Annette. And then she slipped out of her racing suit and dove into the water. Splash! The Bostonians were beside themselves. They screeched and squealed and shrieked with terror. "Hey, what are you doing in that suit?" asked a policeman. Annette was arrested. All because she was wearing a bathing suit. "Your Honor," Annette told the judge, "swimming is the most wonderful and healthy exercise. Why, every child in America should be taught to swim." And the crowd gasped. And then Annette asked the judge how many women could possibly be expected to in a bathing suit that felt like lead chains. Everyone waited to see what would happen. Would Annette be banned from Boston? Would the judge send her to jail? What do you think? Is she going to jail? No! The judge let Annette go. The next morning, the beach was filled with reporters waiting to see what kind of waves Annette would make now. At the water's edge, she threw off her robe. Flash went the cameras. Woo, breathed the crowds, and Annette dove into the cool blue water. She whirled and twirled, and she dipped and dived, and from the shore the ladies watched in their hot, heavy suits. Eventually, some of them tried Annette's style, and they swam out into the surf in their sleek new suits, and they whirled and they twirled and they dipped and they dived. Ah, they sighed with relief. And women and girls have been enjoying the water ever since, all thanks to Annette Kellerman, who was brave enough to make waves. So good to see you, boys and girls. Have a great time. Bye-bye.